Beyond Meat just delivered one of the wildest rides Wall Street has ever seen in years. The stock imploded over 50% in a couple hours, leaving traders stunned. But the smart money isn't fleeing, it's calculating. Behind the chaos, Beyond Meat pulled off a massive reset, wiping out nearly $1 billion in debt and positioning itself for a potential comeback. What looked like a potential disaster may actually be the most explosive opportunity of 2025. Now, in one of the most violent stock news of the year, Beyond Meat crashed over 50% in a couple hours. But while panic swept the market, smart money didn't run, it actually recalculated its positions. Yes, the 1000% meme rally was a mirage, but sometimes pain is progress, because what emerged is a company that is leaner, lighter, and no longer crushed by debt. So in this game plan, we're going to be covering three main areas. Number one, the great balance sheet reset. Number two, the technical cleanse. And number three, the bullish path forward. So before you write off Beyond Meat as dead money, let's look at why this could be the most misunderstood setup on Wall Street. First of all, we have the great balance sheet reset. Here's the part that most people missed. Beyond Meat just pulled off a financial miracle in disguise. Through a debt for equity swap, Beyond Meat cut its debt load from $1.15 billion to roughly $250 million. That is a $900 million that is weighted off of its shoulders, one that was overall threatening the company entirely. Although this does have a cost, with the company issuing 360 million new shares to make this happen, creating massive dilution for shareholders and triggering the sell-off. But here's the truth, dilution is pain now and could be potential strength later. As well, analysts like Mizuho slashed their targets to 150, but those targets are mechanical and they don't account for the clean balance sheet and lowered interest expense. Now, if Beyond Meat can stabilize operations, the path to profitability can get a whole lot clearer. Number two, the technical cleanse. Now let's talk about the chaos. The 1000% short squeeze that sent BYND vertical. Obviously, this wasn't organic. It was a technical explosion triggered by meme ETF buying and a sky-high 60% short interest. Now, when the dust settled, the collapse looked catastrophic, but it did something essential. It flushed the speculators out. Every short squeeze attracts fast money, and every crash purges it. What's left over now is a true valuation floor, a base that reflects real fundamentals and not hype. Now, once the dilution is fully priced in, that's where institutional buyers are going to start to look again into the name. And we believe that a quiet consolidation here could precede the next sustained leg higher. Now, number three, the bullish path forward. Now that the debt drama is behind us, the only thing that matters is execution. The question is, can Beyond Meat prove that a leaner structure means real growth? Let's break it all down. First of all, there's been a deeper partnership with Walmart, which has added 2,000 new stores. Now, this is not just expansion, it's current validation. As well, there's been product innovation, which the new Beyond Burger 4, launching at a premium grocers like Erewhon, signals a return to form, a better quality, and have better margins. As well, there's the next major milestone, which is the Q4 earnings. Investors will be watching for gross margins above 15% and evidence of stabilized revenue. If those numbers hit, I expect analysts to start rewriting their bearish scripts. Now that we've covered the overall news on the stock, let's look at the technicals and the daily chart to assess the potential upside on the stock. As you can see on my screen, we are on daily chart of BYND. And we can see here that the stock has been pretty bullish over the past couple of weeks. We have seen that it has been holding well above the 50 EMA so far, and today on the trading session, we're actually coming to this level and retesting it. As you can see, a couple of days ago, on the 16th of October, the stock was trading at around 50 cents per share, pretty close to reaching zero. But we did see a gap up, pretty much an intense upside move all the way to $8, seeing a 1,200% return for any individual that went long at this area. Obviously, this was a very hard name to predict, right? So I do believe that anyone that got such positioning was very lucky and they should enjoy the overall benefits here. But looking at the stock here, I do see that we are seeing some type of selling, right? We did reach $8 and we started to sell off, and we are now towards $2 here. But we are holding so far the 50 EMA, which is this yellow line here you guys see here on my screen. I would like to see this name hold quite well, because if it doesn't, this will trigger even more downside towards areas of support. Now, Additionally, we saw that the RSI got a little bit overextended. We got above 64, which to me shows that we saw, such parabolic moves during this transition. This, move here from, 50 cents all the way towards $8. That move triggered a very intense reaction, especially on the RSI, which did trigger that overall odd condition here on the stock. Now, some key levels here of support that I see on BYND are going to be the following levels. So first of all, let's mark this level of the 50 EMA, right? Because this is an important psychological zone. If the buyers do not, allow this, to be held, then I do believe that the stock has potential to drop to, even lower levels. And to guide this, we'll be using Fibonacci retracement. So we'll mark from this high, which was the most previous high we can see here, all the way towards this low that we formed. And as you can see, I believe that if the stock does not hold the 50 EMA, we have a level of support here at $1.50. Generally, when we do see some type of, level, some type of hype like this, we gap up. Generally, we tend to pull back and find some support like this. So we tend to do this. We, capture some liquidity around the zones. And then this is where we see the bounce, and a stop loss would be ideally placed below here, allowing for that upside continuation here on the price action. And as well, the stock has been, very volatile. Even if we can see here on the metrics, if we see here, for example, Beyond Meat traded an overall 602 million shares, where its average is around 260 million shares here over the past couple of 30 days. We can see here on the earnings that they do tend to miss, and it's a hit or miss here. Obviously, the company is between making money, not making money, so the fundamentals are very, very weak currently so far. Annually, they're not making a lot of profit. The revenue's going down, and the stock is down 38% year to date, so it's an underperformer. But generally, with these short squeeze names, the fundamentals really are not considered into the stock. It's more about the price action and where it has potential to go. So I do see the stock being able to go, if we do recoup, find some support around this either zone of the 50 EMA of $2.38, or even lower here towards $1.48. I do believe the stock can go towards the levels of $11.52, which would be my first price target. And the second level would be $15.64. And, based on the current, levels, that would also, see a 300% return, and even higher here, around 500% return here, if obviously this does happen. This does depend on the overall macroeconomic sentiment on the stock, and any type of negative news could trigger an even downward sell-off here on the stock, where it can reach overall these levels. And, if it's very aggressive, it may find some type of bounce here, let's see, towards this level of 87 cents, because this is where this prior area here where we had a lower wick around the zone and a lot of volume. So there's going to be a lot of price memory at this general zone. Another way we can kind of gauge the momentum and the strength would be, if I can delete this a little bit to get a clearer idea, would be to use the fixed range of volume profile, which is this tool here on TradingView. What this allows us to do is that we can plot, from this high towards the current price action and kind of gauge where the point of control is. And we can see that here, that the point of control is this white line here that you can see here, which runs horizontally here on my screen, which does show that the overall point of control, or the battle between the buyers and sellers, is this exact level here. And currently we are falling below it. So the buyers are actually losing against the sellers temporarily. Obviously, if we do not hold properly, then we will be seeing this further declines towards the levels of support that I previously mentioned. But this is going to be a very important key zone. And we also have taken into consideration that there's a lot of liquidity, a lot of interest at the bottom zones that I said. And this is proved by the fixed range volume profile tool here, because we see the volume here. You can see on my screen the volume that was, at these levels, right? A lot of buyer interest, there was a lot of accumulation that, allowed us to see this upward momentum move. But also we have to consider that this is a very intense level, very intense zone. We just see that the majority of the volume is concentrated here at this zone. That's why it's the point of control. And that is where I believe that we should be finding support here on the name. So my price targets here, if there is a bullishness, then $11.52. Second price target is $15.64. And if we turn bearish, then we can find some support levels at 233, 148 and around 87 cents here on BYND stock. Overall, this Beyond Meat rally was a post-washout trade, and those who are able to recognize it early on do not need to believe in the product, just in the price action. The true question isn't whether Beyond Meat survives, it's whether if this is a bottom before the actual breakout. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like to grow the community, and as always, don't let the markets whip you guys out. I'll see you guys on the next one.